Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
Brad Scott described it as a series of unfortunate events, which in the professional world of coaches may as well have said the umpires were downright cheats. Essendon 9-6-60 defeated by Geelong 16-9-105 in what I'm sure is going to be a really difficult podcast for us to articulate just what went wrong last night at the MCG. Welcome back to the Don Pod. I am joined by Nathan, who is looking dashing today with his shirt and vest combination.
Bit cold over this way, Sam. So yes,
Yes, it's cold here too. Don't worry.
Okay, probably cold across the state. Yep, gotcha.
I live in the northeast. It's cold here.
Well, it's cold in my heart as well this morning.
Yes, same.
I struggled last night and struggled after the game to sleep and not have the emotions that you have when you're frustrated and angry and disappointed and
disappointed.
Well, you mentioned it before. You feel like a parent who's just he's not angry. He's just disappointed.
Yeah, that sums it up. I had to turn it off. I turned it off with about 11 minutes left. I was drinking with a friend, and
Sam.
Thankfully was in a pretty bouncy, happy state despite what was going on. But I just couldn't watch it. I couldn't accept what had happened and how we got to that point against a team that I really thought we'd beat.
Well, what are they? The last 6 or 7.
They've been really poor.
Yeah.
And it's just that whole they're a bogey side for us. I thought the media was kind of sort of on side. They were all kind of saying, yeah, this mob will finish top 4, lock it in. And I made the foolish mistake of believing it. And that's on me, honestly.
That's where you went wrong.
Look, run through some numbers and then we'll deep dive right in. And we're going to start with the umpiring because that's a pretty good place to start. I think goal scorers, Wright and Stringer 2 apiece, possibly both in the first quarter even. Merritt, Langford, Hind, Guelphy and Gresham 1 each. Leading possessions, Caldwell 32, Martin 27 and Zachy Merritt 23. So let's address the elephant in the room, and I'm not talking about neither myself nor you in that.
Weight problems? Yes, no, let's ignore them.
The umpiring. So I don't even really need to explain it because I'm sure we all watched it, and I'm sure that 90% of the people listening right now are here for this discussion. So started off with an entry inside 50 with Sam Draper backing back towards goal. It was a pretty good kick to him. Zach Toohey, in his defence, was looking at the ball, which made the front-on contact bit okay, I think, but came down dragging Draper's arm, which is just a straight-up chop.
Yep.
Geelong go down the other end and kick a goal.
Yep.
So I was pretty ticked off just from that one alone.
Yeah.
And then Jai Menzies does exactly what
we want them to do.
I thought he should do and run over the line. There was 2 players within the 9. There's another rule about being under immediate pressure within 3 meters, which he was. The Geelong player made the decision not to press, and that shouldn't negate the rule. And he was within a meter, so it doesn't really matter anyway. And the umpire pays a deliberate rush behind. Again, these things happen several times a year, and 1 or 2 get paid, and it's just so inconsistent and so shit. And then 2 minutes later, Jordan Ridley gets the ball, immediately gets tackled with one arm pinned, and he gets pinned holding the ball, and Geelong kick a goal.
Yep.
And after last week, where we sat here and we talked about this holding the ball rule, that we were quite happy with it being hot, and then it's just completely gone out the window. And then they pay that where he literally had no time. There was no opportunity for him to get rid of that. Whether they're interpreting it as he could have dropped the ball on the boot, perhaps, but you've still got to have a prior opportunity. It was a good tackle, fair enough, but that's paid. It's not paid holding the ball. It's a ball up.
Yep.
Every time. And
there was no prior, I think, is the key to that third one.
Yep. And this was all within the space of about 5 minutes. Was there one more? I feel like there was.
There probably was. I must admit that I walked off and had to go find other things to do for a little bit after the Ridley one, because there was no prior. And then you watch every other tackle after that and go, well, that's the same. That should be holding the ball.
And we actually did get one, but it was in the middle of the ground. So it just
Yeah.
meant nothing.
The burns, yeah, they're right. And this is the thing often that happens by umpiring decisions. The ones that really burn you are, 30 metres out in front of goal, where it either doesn't result in a goal, the Draper one, or goes up the other end and they get two fairly, very, very cheap free kicks and they just hurt. And then momentum was lost, heads went down.
And the series of unfortunate events is what Brad Scott described it as. I'm being cheeky saying that he may as well have called them downright cheats. Of course, that's not
He
true.
wouldn't do that to his brother, even though he knows he probably is.
Are you okay? Sorting your thing there?
Yeah,
Good.
I'm just playing with stuff.
That's all right. Good time to do it. Not in the 10-minute chat we had before we hit record. Just
well, no, if you don't mention it, no one knows.
Do it while we're live. There's always this rhetoric after a game like that where fans go, "Oh, just cop the fine, Brad, cop the fine." Or you probably can't do that, but at some point we need to get some responsibility back on the AFL and umpiring for these decisions. Again, you have 4 umpires out there. Surely someone saw Sam Draper's arm get yanked down illegally. And you could tell it was so refreshing almost that the Channel 7 commentary were like,
oh, yeah,
you can't really defend that one. Oh, that was a throw. Oh, yeah. And
Well,
then the halftime, the 3/4 time chat on Fox, Eddie Betts was like, yeah, it's just a free kick.
Yep.
And you could tell the Channel 7 commentary in the 4th quarter changed. They'd been told to let it go.
Yep.
Because they went back to, how good's Geelong? But it just totally took the game away from us. And yes, Brad Scott's right. We didn't respond well enough to that. And you and I have some things to say about the team that was picked and some other things. It wasn't just that. But it really did suck the soul out of the club, out of the side. It really did suck any enjoyment out of the game for me.
You know the thing that I think I was most frustrated about. Here's the irony, I reckon. You might like this. This is an attempt at a joke too, by the way.
Thanks for prefacing it. It makes it more funny. I
have to preface my jokes. I think it's ironic that Dyson Heppel's 250th game gets ruined by the AFL. It's part of that is that I really thought for Dyson's 250th, a guy that is loved so much by the players in the club, say what you will about Dyson's football ability, and we've all had a bit of frustration with the way he goes about it sometimes, no doubt about that. But the bloke is clearly one of the better people floating around. Yep. Like there's that young fellow that came out, Harrison or something. His name was.
Yeah, yep.
I can't remember.
I think you're right.
That was genuinely,
that was beautiful. You made my life worth living. Essentially, was the sentiment.
Imagine hearing that from a kid. Like, wow.
Just go, wow. Brad Scott described him as the best person he's met in football.
Yep.
Brad Scott.
And I think about that, and I think there we are rolling out to this game against Geelong, a team that have had taken the piss out of us for many years.
A long time. Yeah.
As long as I've been married to my wife, I feel like, because her father-in-law's Geelong, and I feel like we've lost to them for the last 16 years. Like it's truly the shittest situation to live in.
We had a good run against them in 2017 country game back in the Danaher.
Oh, we won 2, did we?
Yeah, we beat them twice in a season. That's about it. That's all I remember since that game in 2011.
But with all those factors, Dyson and everything, I just would have thought, the boys would, at 3/4 time when things had gone pear-shaped, they just would have rocked into that room or in the huddle and said, right, boys, let's get our heads back up. This is for Dyson. That massive leader of our club. Let's crack right in this last quarter. Let's give it everything you have. Let's do not leave fuel out in the tank.
We are historically bad.
Fuck all. We got the same
milestones. Yeah, we are historically bad in milestone games.
I know that, but that doesn't make me any happier.
No, I think we won Dustin Fletcher's 400th, but I reckon that's the only significant milestone game we've actually won.
What was the Essendon 150-year game? That was,
or the 150th season in general.
Yeah, that was shit. That game was shit house.
We sacked our coach at the end of that year, so yeah, good.
Yep.
No, I don't want to harp on the umpiring because I really tried not to blame, but this was different. It just all happened in the space of such a short amount of time. They were all wrong. I can't wait for the AFL to come out and say that they were correct.
All right. Yep.
It's messed up when people like John Ralph, who aren't, they don't have no affiliation to Essendon, part of the media, which generally don't like Essendon, is going, can't wait to see how Laura Caden just excuses all this.
Oh,
And
they
the
probably won't
general
mention it. That'll
sentiment,
be their ploy.
the general sentiment is that we were pretty hard done by,
But
unless you're a troll trying to
yeah,
get
but
it on.
let's move on from that because I think that's we have to draw a line in that and say, well, that had an effect on the game. How much? Like, for example, Draper gets the free kick, still could easily kick the point. Let's be honest.
Yes, but it was the fact that they went down the other end and kicked a
Yeah, I
goal
know,
that the double
I know,
hurts.
I'm not taking that away. I'm saying that there was still a fourth quarter to go.
It's the whole control what you can control.
Exactly. And I would have said too at the half time mark, we were only up by a kick. Like and to be honest, I thought we should be better than that. I thought if you look at the stats in that third quarter, I think we had something like 17 or 18 inside 50s to their five, a lot less. We had a lot more shots on
I mean,
goal.
second quarter.
Yeah, in the second quarter. So we dominated. I would have guessed at something like the ball was in our forward half for
Yes.
65, 70% of that second quarter.
There was
And we were still at half time before the shitty stuff happened. We still went in a goal, like 5 points, I think it was,
Yep.
wasn't it, actually? Yeah. So let's look at that and say, well, what's going wrong there?
First things first, you're right. We did dominate the territory game second quarter. It was weird because I wasn't overly stressed. Like we weren't converting, but I didn't feel like they were really going to come back into the game. I thought we've got this.
No, I didn't feel
And
that.
I felt if it was dry, we would have probably been a bit better off, but that's no excuse.
If it was dry, then would that excuse all our fumbling? Because there was an awful lot
There's
of
a lot
that.
of fumbling. We are pretty fumbly anyway.
Oh.
But you play football at the G. We want to play more games at the MCG, so you've got to be able to play wet weather football. That's not acceptable as an excuse. But
I guess it hasn't rained all year, so it's hard to practice in the rain.
Naturally, a wet weather game is going to be closer.
Yep.
I can cop that. It's going to be lower scoring, even though it ended up not being.
No, the problem there
in the second half. But we were so much on top that I was pretty comfy. I just thought I have a bit of faith in this team now. I know it's weird that we would have come out in the third quarter and just finally got reward for that territory, but it just didn't happen. And yes, that's partially to do with those umpiring decisions for sure, but it is, as you say, we should have kicked maybe 3 or 4 more goals in the second quarter, and then rather than being 4 goals down, the game's back to level after those umpiring decisions. So it has to be on us. We have to make it about how we played, not the umpires, because we're never going to get better if we just blame the umpires nonstop. It was shit. It was shitful umpiring, and they were blatantly wrong. I can't even defend any of those decisions apart from the Ridley one. I could maybe see another point of view.
Yep. But the other factor, I think. Yep.
Sorry.
There you go.
I was just going to say the team we picked was, I think, wrong. I don't like that. I don't like going into a wet game with 2 ruckmen, 2 tall forwards or 3 tall forwards,
and then a tall on the bench,
and then a tall was a sub. It just
and then you take a tall off who was actually playing. I thought,
and
very
then
well.
Jones, who was best on ground at half time, just about.
Now he may have hurt his calf, but I don't believe that. The truth will be in if he plays next week. I think because if he plays next week, then that's a shit house sub. Like the issue I have with the sub, and here's what I have with the sub, is that all the coaches do exactly the same thing, and I can't handle the fact that they all wait for 10 minutes into the fourth quarter when, in case an injury happens, that's when they'll bring in on the sub. And unless your sub is some freak that can really influence a game, which we don't have any of those, then I think the game was gone in the third quarter. I would have made the sub then, and I would have taken Goldstein out for Cox, because Cox can ruck. I mean, against De Koning, he probably would have been a better matchup because he can actually run.
You don't need him to ruck because you've still got Pete. So you can still...
exactly. But I'm just saying that in my mind, I'm going, well, why are we still playing 2 ruckmen if we've got a guy on the bench who's tall and a guy, Peter Wright, who's, then why not just make a change now when the game is still a chance, it's still time to win it. Whereas 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, we don't win games from there. We're not Collingwood. Surprisingly, they didn't.
It's funny.
The other thing, too, I quickly mentioned too, Sam, is in the last 4 weeks, the thing that's really starting to concern me is the scoring against.
Yes. Can I you're moving on from your previous point, and I want to talk about that.
So brilliant.
Yeah, but I want to respond to that, and I'm trying really hard not to talk over you because we both have issues with that. And last week was bloody a deplorable. I listened to it and was appalled at our efforts. The sub. So you've literally got a forward on the wing in Jones. You've got a wing as your sub, and you've got two ruckmen, and you've got a forward who can relief ruck. So the perfectly logical sub in my little brain,
it's my little brain too,
would have been Goldstein off,
Yep.
Cox on, Cox onto the wing, Harry as a forward, Pete as a relief ruck for Draper.
That's really practical, Sam. Where did you come up with that idea?
It's a nice little complete circle of rearranging these players to. I have no issues with Harry's game on the wing. And if Harry truly had calf soreness or whatever, fine. I'll cop it on the chin. But we needed to make that change at the end of the third quarter just to try something different. If you get an injury, all right, shit
Who
luck.
cares?
Like bad luck. But you've got to do something to win the game of football. And Harry Jones for Nick Cox. Nick Cox, in my humble opinion anyway, was a pretty piss poor decision for a sub. And I don't like that at all.
Was that because he was injured a bit the last week?
Maybe
and they were like, we still want to play him.
Don't play him then. Give him a week off. That's
100%.
a rubbish excuse.
Yeah.
I was very happy to see Sardis had a good game in the VFL, just to
we'll get to that. Yep.
But
yeah,
when you're playing two rucks in the wet, you really need to be subbing off one of your ruckmen. And Draper was the more influential of the two on the night. So, I mean, I don't want Goldie in the team ever again, to be completely honest with you. But
so I agree with all that, and I think that this goes to one of my points for the game was that I felt like we lost the game in the coaching box. Like the decisions we made before the game were shit house. The decisions we made during the game were shit house. Now, when I thought about it, and I tried to, we sort of as a couple here, we often, I guess we blame the players. Like we say, oh God, he was shit. God, he turned the ball over. I actually was struggled to think of someone who I thought, geez, they were like, there was a few guys that I thought were a bit ordinary, but over and all, I thought, actually, I reckon that team was about, like, the whole team was ordinary. And I felt like that the loss happened more in the coach's box and the decisions that were made upstairs and the way we played, the way we tagged, or the fact that we didn't, or the fact that they tagged Merritt and we never know what to do when they tag Merritt and then we're just lost without him.
And the fact they put Stewart in the midfield and we really just had no idea how to deal with that.
Yep, and the midfielders looked at him and went, oh, fuck, what are you doing here? You're meant to be up there. We were going to put Guelphy on you. What are you doing? This has messed with us. Coaches, can someone tell us what to do? We don't know. I think that goes back to the leadership sometimes I do worry still about on the field. And when you watch a guy like Cripps roll around and how he plays the game and a few others at other clubs, and a few others that I still think, I love Zach Merritt, but I still feel
I have no issues with Zach at all. I think we just need, Zach needs a bit of protection in that instance from his teammates. That's probably something we lack, to the recognition that, hey, your captain's getting tagged. We need to respond to that and get in Atkins's face and hit him hard in the contest and whatever. Yeah. But I think in comparison to Paddy Cripps and Walsh as well, is that we don't have a player who can be like, I got this, boys, jump on my shoulders and let's fucking do this. Cripps just drags that club out of, I mean, they're pretty
the mire
now. But if they're down, Cripps can single-handedly turn a game.
Yep.
And maybe Durham can do that, but
in the future he might be able to.
Yeah, maybe. But at the moment, there's no real player, and I think the coaches want that to be Jake Stringer.
It's not Jake Stringer.
Honestly, I think he's a little bit past that now. I know it can be quite effective sometimes, but I'm not a huge fan of him rolling through the guts anymore.
I think that trick has passed. Like, I feel like it was a trick early in the year, but I think that they just keep going back to that well, hoping that it'll happen again, and it doesn't. And I really think they need to try some. And they're obviously trying things like Menzie playing back, which poor bloke. I still feel a bit bad about that free kick against him because
that's what we expect them to do in that situation.
Exactly, that's what I want my players to do. You're under pressure, go over the lines.
Every single defender in that scenario would have. The thing that annoys me about that, is if he had just stopped and propped and let the pressure come and then walked over the line, it would have been fine. It was purely because the Geelong the Geelong attackers didn't
turned around. Yeah,
just stopped.
Yeah, and he was running away from, so he couldn't. He wasn't expected to. He saw he's out. He was getting chased. He went on the boundary.
Shit interpretation.
The other thing that's concerning me too, Sam, is after that point is that so in the last 4 weeks, the lowest score we've kept a team to. So there was a period when we were winning games, we were keeping teams to around that 70, maybe 80 points, and we were not kicking a lot ourselves, but we were happy with that because we talked about that as a really
defense right.
Yeah, we want to get our defense right. We can build on for attack. That doesn't matter if we can kick teams to low scores. We're in games. Bit of the Ross Line mantra, but not full Ross Line.
With a bit more attack. Yeah.
Yeah, not full. You don't want to go full Ross
I
Line.
don't want to go full Ross. No.
That's a bit like that movie. So Gold Coast 91 points, Carlton 96 points, West Coast 92 points, and now Geelong 105 points with us.
I think
there's a concern there.
Losing games and conceding 90, I don't mind. I think when to lose and only concede the 90s, okay. It's not great, obviously.
No, but it's getting outside the margins I'm happier with,
and
especially when one's West Coast.
Even 105, I look at and go, well, they kicked 16-9. They were a bit accurate. We didn't
100
have
points is too
shots.
much, Sam. If you let teams score 100 points against you, you lose a massive majority of the time.
Yes, but it's not a blowout in the Port Adelaide set. Well, they only kicked 111, but we only scored 42, so that's pretty shit. But
if you look at the 100 points, usually the first team to 100 wins games of football at the moment. That's about the basic rules.
If I can I just compare that to last year about this time? Is it round 15?
Yes. It's when all things will go pear-shaped at the Essendon
Football
Club.
Round 12, North kicked 99 points against us. Round 13, we beat Carlton. They only scored 52. Round 15, Fremantle 93. Port Adelaide 78. Adelaide 97. Geelong 122.
Yep.
So if you look at it, it's an improvement on the last time you played Geelong, to be fair.
They are the oldest club in the world.
It's clutching at straws.
And what really kills me is that their two young players beat us. Like Bowes and what's his name?
Holmes?
No, Ollie Dempsey.
Oh yeah, I like him. He's a good little footballer.
Yeah, but he's in his first year.
Yeah, I know.
And again, and the other kid that I thought was pretty good was Humphrey. He was playing his first game. Yeah, and they made us look stupid. And I'm like, can't we? He's a first-year player. Can't we do something about him, please? He's starting to kick a few too many goals.
I just scrolled and found 162 that GWS scored against us.
That's right. And the concern for me is that a big concern in that game last night that stood out was the defensive six and how they worked. Now, obviously, defense is about team and the midfielders getting up and helping and all that sort of rubbish that they tell us. But I still think that the defensive six are the guys that, you're expected, the pressure. It's like what the stat we gave earlier about our inside 50s, like scoring from how piss poor we were at scoring from them. Like the defensive six are the other ones that I think that we need to talk about as I don't know if it's working.
Okay, so can I ask you a question then?
You'll have a question, Sam.
With all your footy knowledge and prowess that you have, what would you do? What's so... Okay, first of all, is it personnel?
Yeah, I think I think it's a really tricky one because I think it is personnel. Like I don't think Mackay's playing very well at all.
No, I didn't like his game last night, but I think up until this point, I've been happy with him, so I can forgive him for one little game.
I would like him to take a mark.
Yeah, the mark.
It'd be great if he could just take a mark. Like he's 200 and something centimeters. He's got plunked himself in front of the ball, and he goes out of his hands and go, for fuck's sake, mate! Like that's your job, right there.
Exactly what Pete does, but it costs you in your defensive half. I'll say.
Pete's got guys around him who pick up the ball, whereas down the other end, no one picks it up. It always is opposition teams that pick it up.
Pete drops the mark. At least the worst thing is the opposition clear the defense. If Benny drops a mark, it's generally scores
a goal.
So it's that I watched the footy last night with a friend, and she's not hugely into football. She goes for Collingwood, but not very passionate about it at all. And he's sort of halfway through the first quarter or maybe a bit later, she goes, oh, that number 15's playing well. And I'm like, get out of my house.
She was saying Laverde
is playing well.
Yeah. You know what he did that frustrates me? And we do it a lot. McGrath does the same thing. It shits me. We kick a little. Yeah, kicks it up to the wing, like about the 70-metre mark, somewhere up on the wing, 20 metres in from the boundary line. And I reckon 5 times a Geelong person marks it and turns around and kicks it back into a lead or a bad spot for us. The number of can we come up with another strategy of how to move the ball out of full back? Because the one up on the wing, it ain't working, people.
The frustrating thing for me with that, and there was one clear example.
And turn the ball over there.
Are you talking over me again?
No.
There was one clear example of this, and I think it was Laverde, and I apologize if it wasn't. He got the ball and was running sort of from the half forward flank into the center of the ground, sort of inside the 50, and had time and space, but just belted it on the boot, and it went straight to a Geelong player. And I'm like, have some awareness, bro. There's no one around you. And it's not just him, it's the teammates to go, you're right, you're clear, keep going. You had time to actually turn and hit a target. So I think if you're going to talk about issues with the back six, I think there's a bit of composure issues, which is why we love Ridley so much, is because he just oozes that.
I don't think he had a very good game last night.
No, I don't, but he's generally pretty composed.
Yep. I think that on that, like, I think Laverde's strengths are he's a pretty good contested mark. Like he one-on-one, he's usually pretty good there. He gives his heart and soul for the club. He puts his head over the ball. He goes back with the flight, does all those sort of things you want. But I think his decision-making and his skill by foot lets him down.
Yep.
And I think that when you're talking about players that we need to improve to be a better team, there's probably a few of them.
The position, not the player itself. Yeah.
No, yeah. Well, we need to, like, when you look at, we often talk about our bottom six, and I put him in that from his ball usage. And sometimes I feel like Nick Martin could be in that bloody category too. But it's a bit like how Hind fumbles below. Like, for a guy so small, he fumbles the ball a lot below his knees. Like
it's not a lot of room to bend down there, Nick.
He's really shit below his knees. Like, he cannot pick it up. The number of times, I know it was wet last night. I get that. But
Geelong didn't fumble.
He can't pick the ball up.
Yeah.
Like he did.
This is a real line between teams for me. You look at how clean Geelong were in the wet, and we just don't have that. Caldwell was great. Durham was great. The rest of them really struggled with the wet footy. And I know they're slippery. I know they are bloody slippery. But when the opposition is just taking it, they're not double grabbing, they're not doing anything like that. They're just taking the ball and going. You sit there and go, why can't we do that? Do we need to just get the sprinklers on before training one day?
The sprinklers, mouth guards.
But just do we ever practice with a wet ball?
I don't know, Sam. We just put soap on their hands, really test the cunts out.
Oh God, we dropped the C-bomb.
It's getting like that.
Wow. 28 minutes in, Jesus. Shall I give some numbers?
Yes, give some numbers.
Help us progress.
We've really ranted for 28 minutes.
That's okay.
I haven't
we
looked
had
at
to.
The sheet or anything.
It's a ranty kind of game. So we were minus 28 disposals, minus 9 of those contested. Nothing huge there. Again, I'd rather be in front on contested ball, to be honest. But anyway, plus 32 hitouts, which resulted in plus 8 clearances, one of which at centre and 7 at stoppages.
That seems not enough. To play 2 ruckmen, be up 32 hitouts, and only be up 8 clearances.
I would read that as I'm happy to be up in the stat. I just think the around the ground that Geelong got out of their ruckman was far better than what we got.
It didn't result in an improvement for us.
Yes, and Geelong was scoring from centre clearances in the first quarter. So you just get
whereas
it's a waste of time.
For that to have worked, we should have scored, I don't know how much, but we should have outscored them by a fair bit in the clearances.
I don't know if there's a metric. I just think it's the competitiveness around the ground, and Goldie just gives us nothing in that regard.
He doesn't run. He's got no run in him. He
Draper
plods.
crashes and bashes in. I like that about Draper.
Yeah, I know Draper can do stupid things, and I know he loses his brain, but there was a hit on one of their midfielders he did early, and I'm like, that's what I'm there for. That's what he's there for. He will hurt opposition midfielders when he goes through them. As opposed to Goldstein, he's afraid to touch players.
He just barely rucks the contest.
Yeah. He's like, I don't want to hurt you. There you go. There's the ball. Here you go, Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger.
I played for North Melbourne. I don't have an aggressive bone in my body.
I mean, we talk about these players that maybe went on 1 year too many.
Oh,
and I'm sorry, Toddy. I was very buoyant about Todd in the preseason. He looked to be a class above what we've seen as a ruckman, but as the years progressed, he's just giving us less and less and less. And again, I can't understand playing the 2 ruckmen in that scenario in the wet. It just Hurts
when
my
we
brain.
did in the week before against West Coast, and it was a dry
Under the beautiful dry.
under
Yeah.
the beautiful dry, and I thought Wright rucked well, and the setup worked well.
And
I
Caddy
would have
played well as the swap for Goldie.
exactly, and I would have thought that going into a wet game at the MCG against Geelong, you would do the same. You go, no, we'll just play Draper again. Now, maybe Draper's fitness is an issue.
Again, don't play him at all.
Exactly.
I can't buy that as a reason
I,
when you're playing him.
I agree with that 100%.
-4 inside 50. So again, pretty close in that department for a 45-point loss to be -4 inside 50s.
Oh, it tells you how shit we are.
Well, you had a great stat. So
Yeah.
general efficiency inside 50, this is off the AFL website.
Yep.
Geelong scored 46.4% of the times they were inside 50. We went at 32%, which is well below our average and well below the AFL average.
Mm.
Your stat, just to put a bit more weight and a bit more numbers behind this, in the second half, we scored a goal from 7% of our inside 50s. We could have had 100 inside 50s. We would have kicked a goal from 7 of them. I know that's what the percentage means, but when you say it differently,
when you say it like that, you go,
wow.
ugh.
So we had 14 inside 50s in the third quarter and 15 in the fourth quarter for 1 goal in each quarter.
Horrible.
Geelong went inside 15, so +1 of ours, and 16 +1. So they only went in 2 more times in the second half, and they scored 10 goals, 5 in each quarter.
10 goals to 2 goals for
From
2 more inside
yes.
50s. There's the game right there.
Right
now
there.
You can talk about the umpiring, but that is the game. That is the stat that sums up the game.
For once, I think the umpiring conversation's worth having. I think there is a bit to say about the impact that had on the game.
I agree 100%, but that stat screams to me a team that just doesn't know what it's doing when it goes inside 50. It either is not hitting targets, it's not holding the ball in, there's no small forward to kick goals. Like, what were our small... We talked about our goals. Guelphy and Gresham won, and Hind won. Like, so that ball went in there in the second half 31 times, and I'm sure it hit the ground a lot of times because Peter dropped it a lot. Sorry? 29. Sorry. Maths. So Peter Wright would have dropped it a lot of times, and Hind, Gresham, and Menzies could only get to... Sorry, not Menzies. Guelphy could only get 1 goal each out of it all. Even Stringer and Langford, who should be doing a bit of that too.
And I need to have words with Guelphy. Wore the long sleeve in the first half.
Yep.
Not okay with that.
Oh, you don't like the long sleeve?
The long sleeves are reserved for people whose names rhyme with bird.
Hang on, Caracella wore it, and I loved Blake Caracella.
Okay. Before my time, all I know is James Hird wore them, and that's allowed. He can wear long sleeves. Sorry, you got to be a bit better than Matt Guelphy to wear fucking long sleeves.
I don't have a problem with the long. I like the long sleeve jumper. I prefer the long sleeve jumper over short sleeve jumper. I think it's a better looking jumper. There you go. I'm going out on a limb.
Okay, we disagree. I hate it.
I love the long sleeve.
No.
Big fan of it.
Wanker.
Well, there we go. There we go, people. We found a difference.
Never
come back together.
You are just wrong. I'm sorry.
I have a long sleeve Essendon jumper that I wore.
Of course you do. You sent me a photo like you were going to wear that to Anzac Day and then didn't wear it. You chickened out.
It wouldn't fit me. That's from like 2000 and something.
It did look a bit small, I have to admit, but that's why there's a reason.
I won a Morris Austin medal in that. Best on ground in the grand final.
Cool. I made 50 in a granny. Wrong sport, but
all right, let's go. Let's not say who was better out of the crappiest.
Well, I never played a final in football, so it's quite fitting. You might say that
this was a pub match, a pub against a pub.
You could have had me with the grand final. I wouldn't have ever.
It was the Brian Baru versus, which is the pub I drink at, versus another pub. I can't think of it. And we played a game of football against each other, and we borrowed football jumpers. Except the club we borrowed was an Essendon jumper, so I was like, I'll just wear my own, thanks. So I had the number 5 on the back with the long sleeve and dominated.
Yeah, of course you did. I don't know where they go from there. Overall in the AFL, we are 3rd for total inside 50s, but 14th or maybe 13th. I can't remember how numbers work for goal efficiency. So it's one half. It's encouraging. We're getting the ball down there enough to be competitive in games of football. So
Yep.
you talk about the back six. I
Yeah.
would like to look at the front six.
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
go, I
Exactly.
don't think the balance is right. I don't know how you fix it because they are
No.
our best players. So I'm
Yeah.
happy that they're the
Yep.
ones that are there. But I don't know if that balance is right.
Yep.
We know we need a small forward. We just have to hope that Davey Jr. comes on a lot
One of
over
them.
the next sort of 3 months in the VFL. Again, quite happy that he's playing VFL. I don't
Yeah,
think we
no
need to
problem
rush
there.
him into the side. I've always thought we're a bit tall because we have Peter Wright, that's fine. And then we've got Stringer and Langford and Jones. Jones, the roles changed a little bit, sure.
Yep.
That's 4 talls, maybe 3 very tall players. It just and
Well,
without
all 190. Yeah.
without the small forward on the deck, I just go, well, Guelphy has value as that defensive forward, sure.
No.
Yes, go.
I just want to interrupt. I know
No, but that
we're
was the right
trying
way.
not to talk over
No,
each other.
that was the right way to do it. Go.
Western Bulldogs.
What about them?
Well, they played on the weekend.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Norton, who's 190 something. Ugelhagen, who's close to 200. I think he's the high 190s. I think he's pretty tall. Darcy, who's well over 200. He's 200
something. Yep.
20 something. And I reckon they played a fourth tall down there. Trying to think who that was.
Okay, so if I can back that up with a comparison, who would you rather, Peter Wright or Jamara Ugelhagen?
Yeah, well, Jamara, he's an Essendon supporter as a kid.
He's just on a long-term deal, I think. Norton, see, this is hard for me because Langford's out of form. So I think my
Yeah, but
views
that's
of
the one
Langford are a bit
No, but they
grey
could
at the
go Langford
moment.
and him. That's fair enough. I mean, you just
But it's the Jones, Darcy, or the Stringer. I know Stringer gives us Stringer.
does Stringer though. Or the question I often ask about Stringer is that are we robbing a bit of him by putting him in the midfield? Is he taking away from his forward capabilities? Like, is he a bit more tired when he floats back forward, or should we just plonk him and find other guys to run through that midfield? Like, and I don't know who.
I don't know. I struggle with Jake because I really think he fades in and out of games too much.
Yeah, he does. I agree with that.
Even with his 5 goals last week, 4 of them came in the first half. So
Yep.
It's a great game of football to kick 5 goals. He had 20 touches and 6 clearances. It was a great game of football. But I would just rather a goal or 2 a quarter if you're going to kick 5.
Yeah.
Like, let's.
No, I think that's a fair statement.
more
He's not
even
consistent. Yep.
contribution.
But you might argue that's been his whole career.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's never been what Jake String is about. But I think in games where you kick 9 goals and you play poorly, it becomes apparent that that's an issue.
Yep.
And when Langford's out of touch as well, you combine that. Pete hasn't been able to take a mark seemingly all year. He took a couple. It was a bit like last week, first quarter. He took a couple and you went, oh, maybe he's on here. And then
his kicking deserved him.
One thing he's good at.
I still don't. I'm not sold on the fact that I know you say this, we're too tall. I'm sort of more about the quality of the talls. So
I mean, the Bulldogs comparison. That's
and that's the Bulldogs comparison. Is that I think good teams, because you know why I like the Bulldogs talls is because they've got a guy like Waitman and a guy like West at their feet.
Bit of class.
And those guys like Waitman, I don't know how many goals he's kicked this year. I would assume over 20, and he's been injured. So, and West would have kicked, I reckon, about the same, over 20. So, that's part of the problem. I think is that it's the smalls that are not coming to the party for us.
He's kicked 17 plus whatever he kicked yesterday.
Who's that? Waitman,
yeah.
And he missed. He would have missed it.
He missed a bit. He had the elbow.
Yeah, he's had a bit of an elbow.
Anyway, I think we look at these players. We look at the Cody Waitmans and the Jack Ginnivans and go, "Fuck, we hate you," but geez, we'd have you.
Oh, Ginnivan's a prime example. I don't know, and I'll go back to the other guy playing at the other end of the ground for Geelong this week a few years ago. When he became available, Stengel, I was like, we should. Yep, I was all for him. You were there. I was like, we should go for that Stengel. He's what we need 2 years ago. Like, he's a good small forward. I know he's been a bit of a troublemaker in Adelaide, whatever his problems are, but surely he can come to our club and we can sort that out. And the same with Ginnivan. I'm like, why wouldn't you go hard for a guy like that? He's the perfect foil to what we need. A little pain in the ass, little naggy little piece of poop who will kick goals.
Critically can back it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the key.
Yeah, exactly. He backs it up.
I have a lot of, I've told you this story. I have a lot of respect for Ginnivan for that. I won't tell you it again because you yelled at me last time, but
Because we
anyway,
lost.
yeah. Anything else to be said on this game of football? Do we just hope to Christ that we come out next week against Collingwood and go compete? I mean, they lost to Gold Coast. I did watch that game pretty
Watched
much
a
in
bit of it
full.
myself, yeah.
I was very impressed with Gold Coast for getting they went behind with about 4 minutes left and
Yeah.
managed to kick 2 more goals and
I
actually
was
win.
surprised by that. Yeah.
Very impressive
I
in
was
what was
surprised by that.
essentially a Collingwood home game.
Yeah. I was surprised by it because I thought once Collingwood got up, then I thought they would
That
do
was
their
it.
thing. But good on Gold Coast. That's a
Mm.
great victory for them. Did Collingwood lose 2 in a row?
Not
That'd be
very
a while since
often.
I've
Do
done
we? Oh wait, yeah.
Oh, well, we do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My concern all year has been that this year is tracking the same as other years, in that we're pretty good at the front end of the season, where teams are sort of still working themselves out. But once teams work themselves out, they get in
Work
on a
us
roll.
out.
They get pretty consistent. We're seeing that from teams like Brisbane,
Mm.
who got themselves moving, even though they were pretty ordinary against Melbourne for 3/4. Um,
But they are fifth all of a sudden.
yeah, they're fifth, and Freo, who have got
Oh,
themselves
yeah.
moving after not a great start, but then they've just beaten Sydney, which no one thought anyone could do. So, whereas we go the other way, we become worse as the year progresses, which is a real concern for me. Like and the other thing, like we're basically the best team. Like,
And the other thing,
well, the other thing, Parrish is the only guy that I would
Yeah.
scream.
we're pretty much full strength. Yeah.
Like, you got to ask what we're doing with Shield if he's going to play again in the VFL. Then that's clearly the end for him, because I heard he had a pretty good game.
Yeah, he was all right. If I can comment
There you go.
just on, oh my God, my brain, something you just said. Said alcohol last night. I haven't drunk that much in a long time.
Oh, Jesus. Do you want me to go back through my points?
No, it was about the ladder and us coming.
Who we're playing and how we're
Yes,
going to go
right.
backwards?
So, quick, let me talk before I forget again. We as in the Don Pod, we get a lot of very, very nice, friendly feedback, and we love that. But we also get some other feedback, and a lot of that feedback is that we're a bit negative, or we don't get up and about enough.
Can I just stop you there? We're shit for 20 years. Like, I think we're allowed to be negative, aren't we? Like, I don't understand that.
You're preaching to the choir. I'm part of this.
Sorry,
team.
that premiership from 2020 is still hanging around, is it?
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh fuck, I forgot again. So, and the other bit of feedback we get was we talk over each other too often. We just want to. We're looking for that change. We're looking for that little bit of change in our game that says to us we're better. And I've seen a bit of it, but I haven't seen enough of it to truly believe that we're going to finish the season in the 8, let alone the top 4. And I don't think we should be in the top 4. One, I think we're overachieving there. But
No. Yep.
the style of football, it just reeks like we're going to have this drop off again.
Yep.
And we finished the year last year with a 126-point loss to GWS and a 70-point loss to Collingwood.
Yep.
If we can just not do that, I would be actually quite content
Yep.
with that result. Just this game can be a one-off. If we get to the end of the season and this game's a one-off where we were just a bit shit, all right, I'll cop it and we'll move on. But we've got Collingwood next week. Then we play Melbourne. Like, this ain't getting any easier. And we've got to be playing better football than this to not just fucking fall off a cliff again.
Oh, look, I agree 100%. If we just fall off that cliff again, I don't know what I do. Like, I don't know what's wrong with the club or what's wrong with the players if it happens. And you're right. Maybe this is an anomaly that we go and we play. Maybe we beat Collingwood next week. Let's live in that fantasy. Let's pretend we've got massive penises and we're really good looking too.
BDE. Neither of those things are true.
Neither of those things are true, people. Oh God. But you're right. Like, I guess it's so ingrained in us because we've seen it happen so many times.
Again and again and again.
Again and again and again and again we fall. And look, until it doesn't happen, I'm just going to assume it will happen.
And even if
I
we
think that's
finished,
acceptable.
even if we finished top 4, we'd still be sitting there going, "We're going to go out in straight sets."
Oh yeah, we're not winning the finals.
Yet.
I pray to God we don't even finish 8th because we'll get knocked out by Port or someone like that who will sneak in. Or
Yeah.
it'll be. I
Look,
don't want
the best
I don't
case
want finals.
scenario would be we finish 5th and Gold Coast finish 8th. That would be
Nope.
a bit of fun, but they'll probably still beat us.
Best case scenario is that we finish 9th and we go, oh well.
If we're going to fall out of the 8, let's tank properly and get a bit of draft pick, but help get that Harley Reid across.
I can't. Oh, 15 million.
All right, shall we do some votes? Is that what you're about to say?
Yep.
Look, I have to hold my hands up and say I forgot to do the match day post. Again, I had a friend visit, so I was just preoccupied, really. So
it wasn't
I asked...
sexual, people, if that's what you're thinking.
No one was thinking that.
Oh, people were. I was thinking it.
Okay.
You young people with your friends term, it's very.
She's
flexible.
a friend. What do you want me to say?
I don't know. See, back in my day, we didn't have friends.
This is why society is much better off now.
No, is it much better off?
Yeah, she's your friend.
Did you watch the political debates?
No, God, no.
Okay.
So I asked my good friend Jace to give me some votes, and again, it's
Only
meant to be a
Jace.
listener, but anyway, sorry.
Hey, he listens,
And
doesn't he?
No, he gave 3 votes to Caldwell, 2 votes to Durham, and 1 vote to Jones, which incidentally is the same as mine.
Mine's very similar, except I've gone Guelphy for 1. I thought he played a good game, actually.
Yeah,
it's probably the long sleeves dragged me into his attractiveness.
I think that might be the first time you've given Guelphy votes.
No, that's not true. I've given Guelphy votes before and got
because I've said that before.
Yeah.
That that's the first time you've given him votes. Yeah.
Oh, I thought Jones was really good. I did, but I just thought I wanted to mention Guelphy as well.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I did see that you wrote De Bacon. We're sticking with that. Which is unfortunate. I did like the Essendon's version. De him, he's him. De him. I like that. Anyway,
I just like Bull. Durham is what I think makes the most sense. Yeah. Have you seen the movie Bull Durham? Oh no. God, you young people.
Okay, when was that released? When was that movie released?
Oh, probably in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, and when was I released?
Kevin Bacon in it, I think. Not Kevin Bacon. Hang on, quickly.
When was I released? 1993.
When were you released?
Yeah, when was I born? 93. So just settle down. On to next week, just while you Google that very important thing.
1988. Kevin Costner.
I was -5 years old.
So you've never seen a movie that was made before you were born. This is the thing that shits me. So all your little Disney productions that you love to watch, all your little fucking cartoony.
Why you say it like it's a bad thing?
Because it's weird. You still want Disney movies.
I have a 4-year-old.
The cartoon ones, not the fucking Marvel ones.
I have a 4-year-old daughter.
No, you watched them before the daughter arrived.
Yeah.
You go to what musical did you go to on Friday night?
Wicked. That's not Disney, you tosser.
Oh, it's close.
That's
it's all the same.
That's a proper theatre show. That's on Broadway and shit. You dense fuck.
Hey.
Don't comment about things you don't know. The question you should have asked me is, before my daughter was born, I went to America. What shows did I see in America? Aladdin, Frozen, Lion King, and Wicked.
And
Wicked. Just to see something.
Oh, they're all Disney, if you ask me.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, slight digression there.
So, yeah, Bull Durham was an 88 movie about a baseball player.
Okay, didn't fucking ask. On to the VFL. Just turned into an old married couple now. It's going to bicker for the rest of the show. We actually beat Collingwood in the VFL. 98 to Collingwood 63. AFL listed players stats at least. Archie Roberts, who is getting some love. Zachy Merritt commented on him about he's going to be a good player.
Yep.
24 touches and a goal. Get him in. I don't care where he plays. Your boy Nick Bryan, 26 touches, a goal, and 45 fucking hit outs.
At least he can run around.
Sardis had 37 and kicked a point. Setterfield 26 and kicked 2 points. It's weird in the VFL. Setterfield seems to get shots on goal.
Yeah.
He kicked a point or two last week as well.
Yeah, he did too.
Lenny Hayes, who's definitely Lewis Hayes, 17 and 5 marks.
I like Lenny.
And Dylan Shield, 32 touches and 6 tackles. And the Davey twins, again, were pretty low possession. I think Davey Jr.
Yep.
kicked a goal. That was about all there was to report.
So from that, no changes.
Well, if Jones is injured, I assume it's Caddy that comes in.
Yep.
And Cox will just go back onto that wing rather than the sub.
Yep.
It's interesting that before
Callie went out with the sickness.
Before Callie went out, it was
Yep.
Menzies. So maybe that's the swap then. If Cal comes back,
Yep.
just as long as he comes back in defence, not on the wing.
No, they can't do that again. If they do that again, I'm writing a letter.
I had Roberts at the start of the year pegged as a half back, but he actually has hit the scoreboard. So I'm thinking
He's playing
more of a
midfield, I
winger,
think, isn't he?
Well, midfield wing, yeah. So
Yeah.
I would like to see some AFL minutes for him before the year's out. But again, I understand the midfield's pretty stacked, to be fair. But you've got Dylan Shield and Will Setterfield not getting games. Who probably get games ahead of someone like Roberts, but
do you play someone like Roberts over Hind and then he can play as a forward?
yeah, upside's better there. Yeah.
Yeah, he can go forward and still play Hind's kind of role, and then he can also rotate into the midfield.
Here we are again bashing Nick Hind. That one listener will be in the comments again.
Well, they can fucking be in the comments if they want, but you tell me why Nick Hind's 28 years old or whatever. He's like, he was shit. Like, you tell me, you watch his footage of all the times he was near the ball and the number of times he fumbles the bloody thing. Mm-hmm. It's shit house. Now, he kicked a beautiful crumbing goal, that one that Draper missed.
That fooled everyone.
That fooled everyone.
Everyone thought Draper was just going to grab that and kick it.
And maybe, I thought after that, maybe that should be a strategy that they talk about. Drapes, you deliberately missing. I'll come running behind and scoop. Goal.
It only really applies when there's no opposition ruckman, which doesn't happen.
It does occasionally happen, yep.
But it was fucking elite if it was deliberate.
Yeah. And so that was a good goal. But I don't think that you stay on the side because of that one play.
I'm not sure what his role is now. Again, we have so many of these players.
He's a half forward because every time they all stood around having a chat after a goal, he was in there.
He was there, righto.
Yeah, so that's his role.
Pay more attention than me.
Yeah, no, I do pay a bit of attention to that because I'm curious to see the back six who's standing around talking to each other. Yeah, so I don't, it's a bit like anyone else that's not. I think the questions will come against guys like Stringer next year. I think
that's okay. That would be good progression to start questioning that spot towards the end of next year.
Yep. And Foss would have been the perfect option.
Nah, Caddy's the Stringer.
Yeah, Caddy's the next step. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, the other thing too, I do hope that we've been talking about this. I just had one of the thoughts last night in my sleep or non-sleep that we don't do this year is go after too many more unlisted or not delisted, uncontracted free agents, yeah, whatever. Because honestly, do you think that right now in halfway point that Dersma, Menzies, and Mackay have been that great to the team? Like
Dersma, Gresham, and Mackay, and Goldie. Gresham's hard. I think Gresham started the year really well. But I haven't. He started last night really well too, actually. And I thought, maybe, but then faded.
Yep.
The best pickup we've got out of that so far is Dersma.
Yep,
which
I agree.
Is hilarious because at the start of the year I was saying he was the one that needed to lift. I think
he's been the most consistent, Dersma.
Structurally, Mackay is the big one. When he went down last night, I just thought that's the last thing we need because he's pretty much it. If we didn't have him, Laverde goes back to being number one defender again.
Well, then you have to drag Hayes out. Even though he's too small, you have to drag him out of the VFL and say, right, mate, you're in.
Or Reed gets forced to play again.
Or, what's his name? Came from Melbourne.
Wiedemann. Yeah, Wiedemann's been playing defence. That's a fair shout in that instance.
Yeah, so you've got other options.
Still be a serious downgrade.
Oh, I don't doubt that, but I felt like Mackay last night, and I've really felt this in the last couple of games, that his marking is really starting to shit me. Take the fucking mark, you big spud.
Yeah, and I think, again, structurally, you just go, mate, that's probably not your job. Worry about punching it and let Ridley be the intercept marking player, unless you're in a really great position. There was a couple of times yesterday, and it wasn't just our game, where these dumbass fucking forwards just try and mark the ball behind the defender, and it's like you've got to do more with your positioning because he's in a good position most of the time.
I agree.
I totally changed my point halfway through that sentence, but anyway.
Yeah, fascinating.
I'm not drunk anymore. Yeah, Dersma's been a huge pickup.
Yeah.
Exactly what we needed. Gresham, I just don't
Gresham's been
know.
disappointing, I think, in the last few weeks.
I just don't know. And I don't want to criticize because I don't think he's really been worthy of criticism,
Mm.
but I don't think he's been worthy of looking at and going, oh, geez, what a pickup. That was really good. It's really helped us.
Yeah.
Kind of an in between. Goldie, I respectfully, and all the respect to what he's done in his career, I never want to see him play another game of football.
But the problem with the Goldie thing is that he should be just playing VFL, and that if we get injuries, that's when he plays. He shouldn't be the number one or one and a half, whatever position. Ruckman. That was not what we brought him. When we picked him, you and I thought, oh, he's a great backup, Ruckman. He can play VFL. If Draper goes down, he can come in. That's it. Not fucking number one and a half, which is about where he's at the
Every
moment.
week, yeah. Totally agree. There's probably a couple of holes to fill, but that's a conversation for down the line, really.
At the end of the year, when everything's gone pear-shaped.
Yep. I don't think we do around the grounds this year. We talked about this week. We talked about Gold Coast and Collingwood. We talked about Freo and Sydney. That's really all there is to report. GWS have fallen out of the 8. Melbourne are 12th. Port Adelaide are 11th. Just a weird.
It's a fascinating
season.
8 goals. There's that many teams on 32 points. If Hawthorn win this week, today, then
they're equal 8th.
Yeah.
But they'll be out on percentage.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Geez, that tells a story for us. Bulldogs have won 1.5 games less than us. So they're 6 points behind, and they've got a percentage of 120. And we're on 99. We're the first top 4 team with less than 100% in a very long time.
And I think that percentage actually says a lot more than it
always does.
It always does.
Always tells you a tale of your defense. I mean, that's literally what it is. It's your defense versus your attack.
Yep. And we're not good at.
And to be a top 4 side and to be a top 8 side, really, that needs to be a positive number.
Yeah. Yep.
And, 105 plus, not 101.2.
No, not just a bit.
Just above.
Yeah. Really, that 105 to 110 mark is where and anything over that shows a sign of a good club, I reckon.
The next lowest are 105, and that's Collingwood.
Who's the lowest down the bottom half of the few teams lowest?
Well, see, so there's GWS in 9th have 108. Gold Coast are 106. Port Adelaide are 101.
Yeah.
Melbourne are 99.9. Yep. Adelaide in 14th are 103.8. So we're literally, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams outside the top 8 that have a better percentage than us.
Yeah. So they're better at defending and attacking.
Well, they're versus the attack, yeah.
Yeah.
So it tells you a story.
Lot. Yeah.
And Sydney, 144. That tells you a lot.
That tells where we've got to get to.
Yep.
We're a long way off that.
Long way away from that, yep.
And that's the thing. We are a long way off being a premiership team. A long way. We might be a bit better this year, but we're still a long way off.
We get teased. Every year we get teased that maybe we're there. Maybe we're we're not there. Maybe we're nearly there. Maybe we're
getting better, but
progressing, but no.
There's a chance Collingwood beat us by 40 points next week.
And the rest.
Yeah.
I'm going.
They'll be up for a redemption. They don't like to lose. Anyway, let's wrap this baby up. Can
you give me a tip for the Collingwood game, please?
Oh, it's a fucking Collingwood by 42 points. I really, I couldn't see us getting close to them, to be honest.
If they
got the ball over the back against Gold Coast so many times
and couldn't score. If you wanted anything to prove to you that Nathan has completely lost the plot, he didn't say Essendon by 12. And not only that, he didn't say Essendon at all. I think that might be a first.
First time.
We have sat there before and genuinely talked shit about our football club for half an hour, and then you go on and tip us.
Yep.
Wowzers. I'll say Essendon by 12.
Goals?
Points.
Oh, well, yeah, good luck. Maybe that's what it'll be this week.
I can't handle another close game to Collingwood, by the way.
I'm not going.
I'd happily lose by 40
if
it meant that I didn't have to deal with that again.
Yep, that's fair enough.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate your company, and go Dunes.
Gibbermish.